The archives of the Xerthi remember everything. They remember when we first set foot among the stars, stumbling like children into the cold black. They remember when we were nothing, when our ships sputtered and our bones rattled with fear of the void. They remember because they were there, watching us. The Xerthi are not cruel. They are not predators nor tyrants. They are the gardeners of the galaxy, keepers of its order. For millennia, they have offered guidance to the young. They seed entire civilizations with knowledge. They lift the weak into strength. And when their work is done, they extend a final gift: paradise. Paradise is not a metaphor. It is a place, a world woven of engineered skies and rivers, tailored to the desires of the species who accept it. A planet where no one hungers, where no one ages, where death itself is suspended like an old myth. Every species takes the offer. Every species except one: humanity. I was there the day we offered it to them. I am Valen, speaker of the Xerthi Conclave. My task, my honor, was to carry the offer to their leaders. It should have been routine. By then, I had delivered paradise to 16 species. They had wept. They had sung. They had laid their crowns at my feet in gratitude. Never once had the offer been refused. And yet, when I looked into the eyes of the human chancellor, I knew something was different. She was small compared to us, flesh too soft, bones too fragile, a creature of dust and short years. Her hair had gone white with age, though she had lived less than a century. I remember thinking, how can such a brittle thing carry the weight of a species? I unfolded the offer as I always did. Humanity, I said, my voice carrying the resonance of the conclave. We have watched you. We have seen your suffering, your wars, your endless striving. You have earned rest. Accept our gift. Lay down your burdens. Live in paradise, and want for nothing again. I showed her the vision. I placed it in her mind as we always do. A projection of the world waiting for them. Lush valleys, endless harvests, skies painted in colors Earth had never known, children laughing without pain, lovers never parting, graves no longer dug. She trembled. For a moment, I thought she would fall to her knees like so many others. Her kind had suffered more than most. Disease, famine, wars that scorched their own soil. Surely they, above all, would embrace peace. But then she laughed. Not cruelly, not mockingly. It was a soft laugh, like one who has remembered a private joke in the middle of a funeral. She covered her mouth with a hand, but the sound slipped through, thin and human and utterly out of place. Paradise, she said, her voice raw with age. You offer us paradise. Yes, I told her. You will never suffer again. Her eyes shone, not with tears, but with something harder, a steel I had not seen in the others. That's the problem, she said. The chamber fell silent. Even my fellow speakers shifted uneasily. None had ever dared to reject us, not even with hesitation. And yet here was this frail human, dismissing the greatest gift the galaxy had to offer. I felt anger stir in me then. I could not help it. You would refuse eternal peace? You would refuse life unending? She stood slowly, her frame quivering but unbowed. Her people watched her from behind the glass of the observation hall. Hundreds of humans, diplomats, and soldiers alike, leaning forward to hear. You don't understand us, she said. You've seen our pain, but you haven't seen what it means. You've seen our wars, but not why we fight them. You've seen our graves, but not why we dig them. You think suffering is a disease to be cured. She leaned forward, her voice suddenly fierce. But suffering is the fire that makes us who we are. The words echoed through me, sharp and alien. My mind rejected them. No sane species clings to pain. No rational creature chooses struggle when ease is offered. And yet, I could feel something in her words, a gravity that pulled even against my disbelief. I searched her face for weakness, for doubt. I found none. "Your children will die," I warned her. "Your empires will fall. Your worlds will burn. And still you refuse?" Her gaze never wavered. "Yes, because when we fall, we rise again. And if we forget what it means to rise, then we stop being human." The chamber shuddered with the weight of her defiance. My fellow speakers stirred in outrage. Some demanded we withdraw the offer immediately. Others whispered that humanity was dangerous, unstable, unworthy of paradise. But I could not look away from her. This fragile creature, this fading elder of a species barely past its infancy, had spoken words that gnawed at me. I had seen civilizations kneel for less. I had seen proud conquerors beg for the gift she scorned. And for the first time in all my centuries, I wondered if we were the ones who had misunderstood the purpose of existence. The conclave demanded answers. "Withdraw the offer," hissed Speaker Thaler. "They are arrogant. They are reckless. Their refusal is an insult to the order we keep." Others agreed. Voices rose around me, sharp and indignant, their harmonics shaking the crystalline chamber. Never before had we been denied. Never before had paradise been mocked. But I silenced them with a single gesture. "No," I said. "If they refuse in words, let us see how they refuse in deeds. Let us test this conviction they claim to hold so dear." And so it was decided. I remained among the humans, my escort of Xerthi guards reduced to shadows in the distance, while I sought proof that their rejection was not merely the pride of a dying elder, but the truth of their kind. I chose to begin with their soldiers. The human outpost on Vera 9 was no paradise. It was scarcely livable at all. The air was thin and acrid, the soil poisoned by storms of iron dust. The structures were little more than domes of metal and plastic, battered by winds that howled without pause. "Why stay here?" I asked their commander, a broad-shouldered human with skin cracked by sun and scars. "You could leave. The world is barren. The storms will never end." He grinned, teeth flashing in the weak light. "Exactly why we stay. If we can survive here, we can survive anywhere." I stared at him, uncomprehending. "But why choose suffering when ease is offered?" He leaned closer until I could smell the salt of his sweat. His voice dropped to a growl. "Because when the storm hits, and the walls rattle, and everything we've built is on the edge of collapse, we learn who we really are. Paradise can't teach us that." He clapped me on the shoulder, a gesture that would have been an insult from another species, but carried a strange warmth from him. "You don't understand, alien. We don't love pain. We love what pain makes us." The words struck me like the Chancellor's laughter had. Different lips, same defiance. Later, I sought their scientists. Surely reason would speak louder than pride. In a subterranean chamber beneath the outpost, I found them hunched over instruments, their eyes hollow from long hours. They were mapping the storms, charting patterns no sane mind would care to know. "Why waste your lives here?" I demanded. "The conclave would gift you a world without storms, without hunger, without death. Think of the discoveries you could make without fear." One of them looked up, her eyes red-rimmed and weary, but in that weariness burned a fierce light. "Without fear," she said softly, "there are no discoveries worth making." I blinked. "Explain." She tapped the glass, where storms raged across the horizon. Do you know what this means to us? To map the chaos? To wrestle meaning from disorder? That is creation itself. To stand before the unknown and fight it. Her hand trembled, but her voice did not. If everything is handed to us, we stop being human. We stop becoming. Her colleague, a man with a crooked spine and shaking hands, added, "Paradise is not life. Paradise is a cage. You just painted the bars to look pretty." His words echoed in my mind long after I left. The conclave grew restless. "You indulge them," Speaker Thaler accused. "They defy us openly. They corrupt your judgment." Perhaps he was right, for I could not deny what I had seen. These fragile creatures bled too easily, broke too easily. Yet each time they broke, they stitched themselves back together with threads of defiance. Still, I needed more. Proof undeniable. So I went to the battlefield. The war was not ours. It was a skirmish between two minor human colonies and a raiding species known as the Draxi. Normally, such conflicts ended in surrender once the Draxi unleashed their fangs and fire, but not this time. I stood on a ridge above the human trench lines, the sky burning red with plasma fire. The humans fought like mad things, charging into storms of death without hesitation. Their losses were staggering, yet each time a soldier fell, another rose, screaming their defiance into the chaos. The Draxi howled in frustration. They had expected fear. They had found madness instead. At last, I descended into the trenches myself. A human lay there, bleeding from a dozen wounds. His breathing rattled like broken machinery, but his eyes still burned. I knelt beside him. "Why fight? You cannot win. You will die." Blood bubbled at his lips, but he grinned through it. "Better to die fighting than live in chains." I felt something twist inside me. I pressed my hand to his chest, offering him the conclave's healing light, but he pushed it away. "No," he rasped. "Don't heal me. Let me go. Just tell them." His eyes found mine, blazing even as life fled. "Tell them humans refused paradise, because we already have one. We make it ourselves." And then he was gone. I had seen countless deaths, but none had ever struck me so deeply. That night, I returned to the human chancellor. Rage simmered within me, not at them, but at myself for failing to understand. "Explain it," I demanded, my voice booming through the hall. "Why do you refuse what others beg for? Why do you embrace pain as if it were treasure?" The chancellor met my fury with calm. Her voice was gentle but unyielding. "Because, Speaker Valen, paradise given is not paradise earned. A gift without struggle is nothing. You think we crave comfort. We don't. We crave meaning. And meaning is forged only in the fire of trial." I shook my head, my form trembling with confusion. "You are mad. All of you. You would rather suffer and die than live forever in joy?" She stepped close, so near I could see the lines carved into her face by years of toil and grief. "Yes," she whispered, "because without death, life means nothing." The chamber fell silent. Those words, they seared into me like a brand. For the first time in my centuries of service, I could not answer. Later, alone in the stillness of my quarters, I replayed the voices of those fragile creatures. The soldier, grinning through blood. The scientist, trembling before storms. The commander defied the wind. The chancellor, laughing at paradise itself. Every other species had bowed before the gift. Every other had seen eternal ease as the ultimate end. But humans refused. And though part of me recoiled, Another part whispered that perhaps, just perhaps, they were right. I dreamed that night. Xerthi do not dream, not as humans do. Our minds are ordered, precise, free from the chaos of random visions. But in my rest, I saw fire. I saw oceans boiling, worlds shattered, stars guttering like candles in the dark. And yet, through it all, I saw humans, small and fragile, rising again and again from the ashes. I woke trembling. It was not fear that gripped me, though fear was part of it. It was something deeper, something I had no word for. I, who had carried paradise to 16 worlds, who had seen empires kneel, had never felt so unsteady. For the first time, I wondered if we were the ones in chains. The conclave demanded a verdict. They refused the gift, Speaker Thaler growled. Let them wither. Let them vanish into their own misery. Others agreed. They are dangerous, they hissed. If they spread this madness, it could undo the order we have built. They must be contained. I stood before them, silent, as the voices clashed. And then, against every tradition, every instinct, every vow I had sworn, I raised my hand. No, I said. The chamber froze. The conclave turned their countless eyes upon me. No, I repeated louder. Humanity has not refused our gift. They have taught us what it truly means. A ripple of outrage surged. Blasphemy! Madness! You have been corrupted! But I did not waver. My voice rose above theirs, thundering through the chamber. Listen to me. We believed paradise was the end of struggle, the cure to pain. But to them, paradise is the struggle itself. To them, pain is not a curse, but a forge. Death is not an enemy, but the hammer that shapes life. They do not need our gift because they already are what we seek to make of others. The conclave roared in denial. They are fools! They are animals. I struck the ground with my staff, silencing them. No, I said once more, softer this time, but unshakable. They are human. The conclave cast me out. I knew they would. I had broken the unbroken law, that paradise is unquestionable. I was stripped of title, stripped of honor, sent wandering as an exile among the stars. But I did not despair, for in my exile I chose to walk among them. I lived on earth. I walked their cities, loud, chaotic, dirty, alive. I saw them laugh in the rain, curse in the heat, sing when there was no reason to sing. I saw them fight in alleys, weep at graves, lift children high into the air with smiles that defied exhaustion. I saw them break, and then I saw them heal. And each time, I understood more. One day, I found myself at a human graveyard. The stones stretched across green hills, each carved with names and dates. By human measure, their lives were heartbreakingly short. A woman knelt before one of the stones, flowers trembling in her hands. Her shoulders shook with grief. I approached carefully. He was yours? Her eyes, wet with tears, lifted to meet mine. My son. I waited for her to curse the unfairness, to demand the paradise she had been denied. But she only pressed her hand to the cold stone and whispered, He lived. And that is enough. She smiled through her tears. That was the moment I broke. I returned to the stars with new eyes. Everywhere I went, I carried the memory of that woman, that soldier, that scientist, that chancellor who had laughed at eternity. When other species asked why humanity had refused the gift, I told them the truth. They refused because they understood what we never did. Paradise without struggle is not paradise at all. Humanity does not need us to give them meaning. They make it themselves, with their suffering, their defiance, their love. Some called me mad. Others listened and shivered. And slowly, a new whisper began to spread among the stars, that perhaps the humans were not fragile, not reckless, not doomed. Perhaps they were the strongest of us all. Years later, I stood once more before the human chancellor. She was older now, frailer, her breath thin, yet her eyes burned no less brightly than the day she refused me. "You have walked with us," she said. "Do you understand now?" I bowed my head. "I do, and I envy you." She smiled, weary but triumphant. "Then you have learned the first truth of being human." Her hand trembled as she reached for mine. "You wanted to give us paradise, but don't you see? We already live there. Paradise is not given. Paradise is made, day by day, in every choice, every struggle, every sacrifice. That is why we refused." Her hand fell away, and her eyes closed forever. I remained kneeling beside her long after the last breath left her. For though she had died, she had given me something no conclave gift ever had. She had given me meaning, and so I tell this story across every world I wander. The aliens offered humanity paradise, and they refused, because they knew what we did not. That the greatest gift is not freedom from suffering, but the courage to suffer, and to rise, and to make life worth living.